back to Dede's Mediterranean Kitchen. Today we're going to be making pita bread. This nice, soft, wonderful, and oh, so tasty bread that's great for eating anything. Now you may be thinking, she already has a pita bread recipe. Well, yes, I do have a pita bread recipe, and it's a traditional recipe where you make it in the oven. With this recipe, it's pita in a pan. It's really simple. I like this recipe because you can combine a lot of different herbs and spices and flavors with the pita bread to make your own version of it. Now, if you want this recipe or any of my other recipes, make sure to check me out on my website at DedeMed.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, Google+, whatever social network you're on, I'm sure I'm on it too. So let's start making our pitas. So I like to use my KitchenAid mixer. It's really easy to knead the dough. You can actually do this by hand as well. It's very simple. It's not that hard to do. So I'm going to start off by emptying a packet of yeast. If you don't have the packets, it's about a tablespoon of active dry yeast. To this, I'm going to add some sugar. This helps the yeast to feed on it, and then just some warm water. Now, I'm just going to let this sit for about 5 minutes so that the yeast activates, and then we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. Okay, so here you can see our yeast has started to react. It starts to bubble up a little. We're going to add about half of our flour, and then we're going to start our kneader. We're going to add some salt to this. And we're going to add some olive oil. Now, if you wanted to add some spices to this, or if you wanted to add some, say, rosemary or thyme, this is when you would add it. So we're just going to turn this on and let it knead for just a few minutes. And while it's kneading, we're going to slowly add the rest of our flour. We're going to add some more flour. Okay, so our dough is done kneading. See how it comes apart away from the bowl. What I'm going to do, I actually want to just pour a little bit of olive oil in here because I'm going to keep the dough in the same bowl. I want to let it rise for about 2 hours. So just like that. See how it's nice and supple? It's really soft. So I just like to, just like that. You can see I just coat the whole thing with some olive oil. I want to remove it from my KitchenAid. Take this off. I want to cover it with saran wrap, and I like to actually cover it with a blanket or a towel as well. Put it in a nice dark warm place. Let it sit for 2 hours, and then we're going to come back and make our pita bread. Okay, so the dough I made is resting. It's going to rise. I made some earlier so I can show you guys how to make the pita bread. If you want a different version of this recipe, check out Chef Diane DeMeo. She made her own version of pita bread. It's really cool. It's really flavorful and tasty. But we're going to get back to rolling out our pita bread, and then we're going to cook them in the skillet. So all you really need right now is just some flour and a rolling pin. And you have the dough right there. It's nice and soft. You want to get some flour on your hands just so that it doesn't stick. Just like that. I'll put this bowl aside. And now some people like to roll it out and then cut the dough into equal pieces. I just like to do it with my hand. You can use a plate to set them on. Just like that. And so what I like to do, I just like to squeeze them out just like that. What you want to do, you just want to kind of fold them in like that, slightly kneading them. Okay, I like to put a little bit of flour on them just so they don't stick. You want to set them aside. Let them sit for another 10 minutes before we roll them out. Okay, so our dough is ready. See, they're nice and soft. Just put some flour. Make sure to flour your board, flour your rolling pin. And then we're just going to roll them out to about a 1/4 inch thick. We don't want them too thin, and we don't want them too thick. So you're going to roll them into just a nice circle, just like that. See? So for this part, all you need is a nice, I like to use a nice thick iron skillet. If you have a cast iron skillet, that would work. You want to make sure it's something that can hold heat. And I brushed it with some olive oil, some extra virgin olive oil, just with a brush, just like that. Just Just going to give it a nice brush. Between each pita, you want to brush it. I have my pita. I'm going to put it on here, and you want to cook it for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. You also need a spatula. Keep it handy. After about 2 minutes, you want to check it. Make sure it's not burning on the bottom. You want a nice brown color. It's going to be a sparse brown color. And we're going to turn it over about 2 or 3 times. So you can see here, see, it's getting nice and brown on the bottom. That's exactly what you want. You can flip it over right now. It'll start to puff up even more. That heat starts to create hot air pockets in the pita. You'll get a couple bubbles. Every now and then you'll get a nice big bubble to cause a pocket in your pita, but not always. Not always with the pan cooked pita. So you just want to be patient. While you're doing this, while it's cooking in the pan, you can be rolling out the other dough balls, getting them ready for the next batch. We just keep the pita moving. Let's give it a flip. See, you have that nice browning going on. That's exactly what you want. And you can actually smell the dough cooking, the bread. It's starting to smell a lot like bread. That's exactly what you want. And it starts to puff up a little. Very nice. Just keep it moving. Just keep toasting both sides. I like this pita because it tends to stay really soft. It doesn't harden. See how we're getting that nice brown color? Just like that. Now, if you decide to add any herbs, I love to make this and add some rosemary, thyme, some fresh cracked black pepper. It tastes amazing. This pita bread goes great with tzatziki sauce and shawarma. I just finished cooking the pita bread in a skillet. I finished them all. The house smells amazing. It smells like freshly baked bread, except we cooked it in a pan. The bread is nice and tender and soft. Now don't forget that if you want, you can add different flavors to this recipe. You can add fresh herbs, rosemary, thyme, whatever herb you like, basil. You can add some chopped olives to this. You can add some fresh cracked black pepper. It's a great versatile recipe. I hope you do give it a try because it's really simple. You're really going to enjoy it. Store these in a Ziploc bag or a Tupperware container, and if you want to heat them up, just like we cooked them in the pan, just put a little bit of olive oil in the pan, toss them back and forth for about a minute or 2. It'll taste like you just made them. It's a great recipe. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you again at Dede's Mediterranean Kitchen.